So quiet on the set. We live stream this, so we get people like all over the world watching. Not a lot, but yes, I'm live. Yay! So good evening, everybody. Welcome to Thursday night at Living Word Family Church. Thank you, Ben. This is These Final Days Ministries, and I'm that guy, Pastor Ryan Speakman, serving under my favorite pastor in the whole world, sincerely, Pastor Maureen Collins. Let's give her a hand. Just if I got started with her, we'd be here all night, me just bragging about my pastor. She's just the best of the best. Thank you, Lord, for her. So, and if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't even be able to do this class, because no other pastor on earth would let me do what I do. I don't think so. Not that it's that crazy all the time, but, or maybe, kind of, yes. We are going to have fun tonight. I know that most of you were here last class. That was 2 weeks ago. I want to welcome back Keith and Heather. Give them a hand, please, because they've actually been here and they came back. And then let's welcome Warren and Judy. So give them a hand. This is their first time, so let's see if they come back in 2 weeks. So you probably will. It's going to be a fun class tonight. So let's go ahead and dive in, and we'll start where I always like to start, which is in the very beginning of this amazing book, the book of Revelation. This is Revelation chapter 1, verse 3. Let's all read this together. Blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written in it, for the time is near. So I always comment, I can't seem to resist, that this was, of course, put to paper 2,000 years ago by the Apostle John. And at that time, Jesus communicated to him, for the time is near, and 2,000 years and counting. But I'm really convinced we are that generation. So that's always been true, because it's a relative term, but it's more true now than ever. And that's kind of the vein that we're in right now with our study. I've been doing this class since 1999 in various forms, writing and the radio show and all that. But so we kind of do different topics. But right now, that's really what I'm digging into is why do I believe that we really are the generation that's going to see all this come to pass? So and it's kind of a fun context right now. Back in late April, early May, I took my sixth trip in the context of the ministry, my fifth research trip to the Holy Land. It was my fourth trip to Israel. I did one trip to Lebanon also a couple years ago. But this time, for the first time ever, I had a research team with me. So I had my media manager, that's the good-looking kid with the headphones on back there. And then wave your hand, Mark. It's another guy on my team. And Tom, we don't know where he is. He's like he's like Carmen Sandiego. Remember her? It's like all over. You never know where he is in the world. He was in Iceland, last I heard, but he did go to Israel with us. So I'm using. You guys all donated money for the trip and everything. So much appreciate all the time. I can't do what I do without you guys. But speaking of which, hey, as long as we're talking about money, I'll pass this around. Why not? Which is. I'm premature. I usually wait till my donate slide, but yeah, let's go ahead and take up the offering right now. But yeah, thank you for giving. So the 100% of whatever you guys donate to this ministry stays in the ministry, and my wife and I put in several $1,000s a year at least of our own money to propagate the ministry, because it's so important. I'm a software engineer. That's how I make my living, in case you guys are wondering. But a big chunk of what comes in the ministry goes toward these research trips. So it's really important that I share with you guys, and it's not just you guys, it's people watching online, people who watch this later. I get donations, over the internet and PayPal and all that. People mail me checks. But it's really important to me to be able to share with you guys, what this all goes toward, because what are we doing here? Why are you guys involved with this ministry? Why do I do this ministry? Because we are so excited that our Lord and Savior is coming back to earth, and he's coming back not as a baby this time. That was great the first time, but he's coming back as a king to rule and reign and put this horrible world system, getting worse by the day, under his feet, and establish God's manifest kingdom on this earth for the rest of eternity. Amen. So I think that it gives God great joy. I think it gives Jesus great joy that and the Holy Spirit that there's a lot of believers in the world that are really excited about this in this generation, and we're cheering this on. So this is why we make this effort. It's fun, but we don't do it for fun. At times, I hope it's entertaining. I think it is. It is for me. We don't do it for entertainment. This is very serious business, and most Christians kind of don't look very closely at the end times thing. Anybody have their own theory why that's the case? It's a fact. Most Christians just, I hear a little bit about, I don't really want to take the time to like actually go to a class and all that because it's scary, right? And there's a lot of other things about Christianity that you hear it and it makes you feel good. Now to me, this is the most exciting stuff ever, okay? But a lot of believers, they would rather hear, mainly or only about how God blesses us, which he does, how he saved us through Christ, which he did, how he heals us physically, which he does. But guess what? This is part of the word too. This is the reality of where we're living. So Jesus said that, the parable of the 10 virgins, that when he comes back, that 5 are ready for him. Their lamps are full. They're filled with the Holy Spirit. I haven't even passed my first slide yet. Sorry, I'm preaching now. But that's 5, half of the body of Christ in this parable. That's maybe a bigger number than it's going to turn out to be in the end. But in this parable, half have their lamps full. They're filled with the Holy Spirit. They're watching, and then half they still have the Holy Spirit. It's kind of scary. They're not just like saved but never got the gift of the Holy Spirit. They actually have the Holy Spirit, but they've left their oil burned down, and because of that, they're not ready when he comes back. But one thing that it took me years before this actually jumped off the page at me, but it says when the bridegroom comes, who's sleeping when he comes? It's not the 5, it's all 10. All of them were sleeping. So my goal is for at least a few of us to be awake, and we're really making the effort here, right? Paul talks about that. Those who get drunk at night, and those who sleep at night. But you are not children of the night, that this day, the second coming, should catch you off guard. Therefore be sober and be awake and be diligent. So yay for us. Just for that, you guys deserve some sugar and fat. Did I mention that already? It's in the foyer. Greg, you guys are on for dessert in 2 weeks. Okay, just a reminder. So with that, let's actually get to our class. The preliminaries first real quick. So this is next month's schedule. So those of you who are new, just to make sure you know, I teach this class every other week. And that gives me more time to work on part 3 of the book series. It'll be at least a 5-part series. Now it's looking like 6-part by the time I'm done. And 1 and 2 are published, doing very well. They've been out there for a long time. Part 3 I've got to get done, so that's why we only do this class every 2 weeks. So we do about an hour and a half when we get together, just so I want to make sure I'm giving you guys as much as possible. So the next class is 2 weeks from tonight, which is, I should have my laser pointer, which is right there. There it is. So we meet again in 2 weeks on Thursday the 10th, and we're going to be continuing in our current vein, which is, again, examining the research that we accomplished on our most recent trip over there, and then again 2 weeks after that, okay? So after tonight, see you in 2 weeks again. If you are interested in this ministry, pretty much everything about the ministry you'll find on our website, which is thesefinaldays.org. And while you're there, if the Holy Spirit so moves you, and I mean that very sincerely, I'm not just being flippant when I say that, but if you'd like to donate to the ministry's been growing over the last 5-10 years. Greatly appreciated. It does go to a very important cause, like we just discussed, right? So you can click on the donate button, but just be led by the Holy Spirit. If you go there and you really don't want to give, please don't give unless it's $1 million, and then I'll take it. So just saying. I mean, I'm not going to lie. So okay. So once again, last business slide here. If you're connected to the church Wi-Fi, please disconnect because it fiddles with our live stream. All right. We're working on our technology like all the time. Welcome to everybody watching online. Johnny Ash, I've been having a great conversation with him on YouTube the last few days. Devo's watching. Hi, Cindy and Glenn. Carrie Schreffler. Terry Ann, welcome. So, yep, so we'll see who else comes on. Okay, so you may or may not know, but today is the 27th, yeah, so sunset's already happened in Israel, but it hasn't set here yet. So technically, right now, we're still in this amazing holiday on the Hebrew calendar, Jewish calendar, called Tisha B'Av. And are you guys all familiar with that? It's very pertinent to what we talk about in this class and our research. And by now, you've all read the slides, so you know the answer, right? Yes, this is the day that commemorates the destruction of the first temple, King Solomon's temple, and the second temple. Both temples were destroyed on this date, in different years, right? First temple was 586 BC. Second Temple was AD 70, but it was on this exact date on the Hebrew calendar, and a whole bunch of other bad stuff has happened to the Jewish people. It's like a really bad day for the Jews. I don't think anything major happened today, right? But in 1290, they were expelled from England, and then 1492, which is the year that Columbus did his thing, right? The Edict of Milan, they were officially expelled from Spain. And a lot of other bad stuff in their history, stuff with the Holocaust, everything. So it's a very, very solemn day on the Jewish calendar, and really because of what this day is really all about. What is the main thing that the Jews are mourning on this day? And I say this based on all my Jewish friends, what they've been posting online the last few days, Chabad.org, all that. What is it that they're mourning on this day? Pretty obvious. Look on the screen.
Second temple.
Well, it's the temple. It's the holy temple. Their temple, which is the center of their nation, and their religion, and their entire faith, and they believe the center of the whole universe and everything good that God has in mind for this world has been gone for 2,000 years. And every year they mourn the loss of their holy temple, and that's what we work on in here, right? Like how close are we to the temple being rebuilt? That's really the key thing, at least the top three, to be watching for the end times to really get underway, right? So you could see a picture of the temple right in the middle of the timeline, right? So it truly is the epicenter of the entire story. So happy Tisha B'Av. That's a terrible way to put it. I don't know what they say over there. I need to ask them. But in Israel, the day's over, so they've ended their fast and all that. So, all right. With that, let's move on. So just go to a blank slide here. So we left off 2 weeks ago. You guys remember talking about my words there say Temple Mount, but we are actually talking about Zedekiah's cave. There's a reason why I start with this slide on this topic. I'll get to that tonight for sure. So again, who was here 2 weeks ago? I think most of you. Yeah. So what I did 2 weeks ago is I talked about Zedekiah's cave and how I found it. Back in 2017, completely by accident. And then when I started to read about it, I was like, oh my gosh, I thought it was like a fake tourist site because there's a lot of those over there, right? It's like Disneyland. But I actually went there in 2017 and visited, and just a phenomenal place, off the charts. I showed you guys a video from my trip in 2017 to kind of get you excited about Zedekiah's cave, right? And I told you I'm in part 3 of my book series. I've got a whole chapter outlined just on Zedekiah's cave and how it pertains to, in particular, the Ark of the Covenant, because I believe that's going to be recovered in time for the day of dedication of the third temple. So that's a sign that we're watching for, right? So now I'm not going to show that video again, obviously, but this is where I left off 2 weeks ago. And what I am going to do, and I meant to have this loaded up, and I didn't do it, so bear with me for one second here while I find the file. Oh, here it is. Hold on. So just to briefly review here. Okay, everybody good? Everybody with me?
Yep.
Okay. So Zedekiah's cave was hidden for many centuries, and it was rediscovered in 1854 by a guy named Dr. James Turner Barclay, okay, famous Bible scholar, archaeologist, right? That wasn't really an official thing back then. But he and his kid and their dog were taking an evening walk outside the city walls, and the dog disappeared, and it was, it had been raining recently, right? And the kid's searching for the dog, and he's along the base of the wall where the rock outcroppings are, right? And right by the Damascus Gate, guys, right? And they heard barking, so Dr. Barclay went up and shined his lantern down there or whatever, but he saw this gigantic cave, so the rainwater had like created this hole that went down this cavern, right? So the next day, Dr. Barclay and 2 of his companions went back, and they were disguised as Arabs, and they went and hid up in the Muslim cemetery right adjacent to the cave's entrance, right? And waited till evening, and they closed the Damascus Gate for the night. And then they went down there. They spent the whole night in the cave. They surveyed it. They measured it. They went all around inside of it. Super excited. And then when they came back the next day, Dr. Barclay started to inform the local community of scholars hey, we found this crazy cave that actually goes underneath the old city, right? So this opened up like this whole other thing for archaeologists in the day. It's the largest artificial cave in Israel. Okay, not the largest cave, but the largest artificial cave. So it's a natural cave, but it's become much larger due to mining. The mine dates back to the time of King Solomon, amazingly, right? So it's 3,000 years old. This is all factual, and scholars guess that King Solomon probably used some of the stones from this cavern to build the first temple, and then King Herod, later on, right, 1,000 years later, took stones from this cavern to renovate the second temple. So some of these stones actually went into the two temples, just amazing, right? It runs 30 feet underground underneath the Muslim quarter of the old city. So already this is like really getting my attention back in 2017 when I'm researching all this, right? So it's called, again, Zedekiah's Cave, and the reason it's called that is that King Zedekiah was the last king of the southern kingdom of Judah, right? The last king in Jerusalem, when the Babylonians came and invaded, and that's when they destroyed the first temple, King Solomon's temple. So Zedekiah was down in the city of David, which is south of the Temple Mount and south of this area, and he escaped through a secret cave system underneath the city of David, Temple Mount, that went all the way out toward Jericho and the Dead Sea. And the story is in the Mishnah or something, maybe in the Talmud even, one of the ancient Jewish texts, not in the Bible, but God sent a stag, like a deer, to follow along the King Zedekiah's path. He's underground, the stag's above ground. The Babylonians followed the stag, and when he came out, they captured him, took him back to Babylon, cut his eyes out, kind of nasty, right? Really like tormented this poor guy, right? King Zedekiah. But that's why it's called Zedekiah's Cave. The other name for it is King Solomon's Quarries. So how cool is that, right? So, and if you want to read about this, it's 1 Kings chapter 5, verses 15 through 17. In the 1860s, so this was just a decade later, Sir Charles Warren, which is another name that some of you might remember. Does anyone remember Sir Charles? Take a drink of water?
No.
You don't remember who that is? Okay, so do you remember the Western Wall Tunnel tour that we did? And when we got to that one gate underground that was sealed shut,
right,
real ugly looking, I got all excited. That's Warren's Gate. Okay, yeah, he's the one that discovered that. It's a gate that opens up to a tunnel that goes underneath the Temple Mount, right toward the Dome of the Rock, which is where the Ark of the Covenant is hidden, and that's legit. Okay, we don't know until we know. We don't know until they actually find it. But if I was going to bet any amount of money, based on my research, yeah, that's where the Ark of the Covenant is, direct underneath the Dome of the Rock, right? So Sir Charles Warren was a Freemason. So the Freemasons claim spiritual descent from King Solomon. You guys are going to be so mad when we're done with this topic, when you see where I'm going with all this, okay? So they're spiritual, descendants, right? So King Solomon was like their first Grand Master. Charles Warren got the idea to start holding an annual ritual. It's like their biggest ritual, the Freemasons. So Freemasons, to this day, come from around the world to have a ritual once a year in Zedekiah's Cave. And we are in that room. You remember, Mark, Ben, the big room with the chairs and lights and all that, right? So the stone that they mine from here, it's called Jerusalem stone. It's the stone that you see in the Western Wall, the walls of the Old City, the cobblestone streets are all Jerusalem stone, Melika, royal stone, right? You guys know who Josephus is? Okay, in his writings, he wrote about the royal caverns of the Old City. That's almost certainly a reference to this, right? Suleiman the Magnificent, he was a later Muslim sultan when the Muslims ruled the city, right? So this was in the 1500s, actually the 16th century. And he actually, he rebuilt the old city walls, and then he ordered Zedekiah's Cave to be sealed shut because he was afraid that enemies would be able to get into the old city at nighttime. They'd be able to invade the city if anyone ever found this cave. So that's how long the cave was missing for several hundred years because Suleiman sealed it off, right? There's an ancient Jewish text which I bet no one here has ever heard of, Bamidbar Rabbah, okay, and I'd never heard of it until I saw this reference somewhere online. And this was written in the 12th century, so during the time of the Crusaders. And it specifically says that Zedekiah's cave is 18 miles long, and it confirms it goes all the way out to the city of Jericho, right? I'm gonna go over some of my stuff here. I don't want to lose you. I know there's a lot of stuff, but again, I'm such a geek, and this is why I got so excited. And I'm thinking, and there's a secret tunnel that leads underneath the Temple Mount, according to another online source, and the priests of the temple would use this cave system that connects to Zedekiah's cave to go underneath the Temple Mount. So this whole time, you guys know what I'm thinking, Ark of the Covenant. Ben, what were you wearing on your head when we were in Zedekiah's cave? Just to get the point across here.
Indiana Jones hat.
Yeah, just Indiana Jones hat. I mean, we're looking for the Ark of the. This is why we're here. We're going to find the Ark of the Covenant, right? So here's what maybe was kind of the most compelling, at least most interesting little detail, and then we're going to move into our content here. That in 1874, so exactly 20 years after Berkeley discovered the cavern, rediscovered it, there was a French archaeologist named Charles Clermont-Ganneau, and he discovered in Zedekiah's cave a carving in the rock of a cherub. Okay, so who here that I wouldn't expect to know, like Mark and Ben, right? What do you think of biblically when you think of cherub or cherubim?
Guard.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Any object that you would think of maybe? That's what they are. What the Ark of the Covenant looked like. You guys saw it in the movie, right? Raiders of the Lost Ark. You remember the original movie? Yeah, it had the Ark of the Covenant has the two cherubim on top, and they face each other, and that's on top of the mercy seat, right? The lid of the Ark, right? And so 1874, this French guy finds this amazing carving of a cherub. So again, it just kind of like gets your mind going, like, okay, there's a secret tunnel goes underneath the Temple Mount. There's this. Are these all like clues? Like, hey, this is, the Ark of the Covenant's been hidden since 586 BC, maybe a couple years before that, and no one in history has seen it since then. So 2,600 years, no one has seen this amazing object that, again, I think is part of the end time story. And here's all these clues: the secret tunnel, and the cherub in the wall, and all that, right? So when I was there in 2017, you can see, actually I have it right here, my very, very goofy, happy face there. So there was this tunnel that went down, says do not enter, danger, and all that. And I came this close to, I don't care, I'm going to go to jail, I'm going to get deported, I don't care, because it's too tempting. So ever since, so I resisted, and ever since, and I've been like just kind of obsessing a little bit in the back of my mind. I've got to get back there. I've got to get down this secret tunnel. I want to see firsthand. Does it really go like all the way to the Temple Mount? What's going on here, right? So, but I spent a long time online back then trying to find the organization that actually could give me permission to go down there, like whoever runs this place, right? Oh, I forgot. The pièce de résistance, that's French for like the coolest part of the whole thing. I'm sorry to speak French. This guy, world-renowned nursing assistant, Ron Wyatt, really he's not an archaeologist. I think he's like an anesthetologist, the guys that do anesthesia. I don't know. Kurt, why are you shaking your head?
The man who supposedly has found everything.
Ark of the Covenant, Paul's shipwreck, right? Yeah. The true Mount Sinai, all that stuff, right? So way back in the 1990s, and I think it was 1992 or 91, this gentleman claims to have discovered the Ark of the Covenant, and some of you might be familiar with him because he actually was very famous. His fame is still kind of going on. He died in 1999. But he's still pretty famous if you go online. But Ron actually discovered the Ark of the Covenant in Zedekiah's cave. So let me read this here. Ron Wyatt speaking to a group in 1998. Again, he died the next year. In Zedekiah's cave, which leads to the cave holding the Ark of the Covenant. And Ron died the next year, right? So here's this photograph of the Ark of the Covenant. And, I don't mean to be mocking, but I'm sure I'm wrong about a whole bunch of stuff. I try not to make up stories. I try really, really hard. For me, I'm just after the truth because I want to understand the end time story, and it's extremely complex, and the ball is always moving, and I'm always doing. Right now, I mean, just before class, I finally made contact with a guy in northern Iraq who's part of an ethnic group up there called the Yazidis. Maybe you heard of them, targeted by ISIS and all that, right? Just trying to do deep research, trying to get the truth of stuff right. So anyway, so Ron Wyatt, yeah, this is what he claims to have discovered. So this is Zedekiah's cave, right? And then this is a main street that goes by right in front of it. So this is the old city right here. Here's the city wall right here. And so across the street and just kind of up the hill, and we did this after we were in Zedekiah's cave, right? You can go up to what's called the Garden Tomb, which is a site that, it's a long story, I'm not going to get into it, but back in the 1800s, 1883, there was a British major general on his way to the war in Sudan, and he claims to have had like a revelation here that this is the true site where Jesus was crucified and tombed and all that, right? So what Ron claimed is that he was led by an archaeologist, and they went in a kind of a secret tunnel underneath this street and up the hill, and he discovered the Ark of the Covenant directly under where Jesus' cross was, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of stuff there I could go off on, but I won't. So, oh, look, falafel. That makes me hungry looking at that. There's some good food in the old city. Just saying. Right, guys? Mark, your favorite food now, shawarma? Just say it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. If we can't find a McDonald's or a Pizza Hut, it's shawarma all the way, right? we ate good over there. Okay, so fast forward to 2023. So this trip that we're just getting ready to go on, a few months back. So again, end of April, beginning of May, and I was actually looking to purchase tickets in advance to go up on the old city walls, which would have been very cool, but we never had time to do that. I think that's the day we went to the Israel Museum. And I bought the tickets, but while I was on this website that sells these tickets, I happened to notice that they mentioned Zedekiah's Cave. And so it turned out that finally, after 6 years, I found the organization that runs Zedekiah's Cave. So I'm just going to read you the email that I wrote to them. Okay, Lee Moore is her name. Shalom, my name is Pastor Ryan Speakman. I lead an organization called These Final Days Ministries that works to educate and inform Christians of the challenges that Israelites and the modern state of Israel face on a daily basis, and to foster warm relations between American Christians and Israeli Jews, which has nothing to do with what I'm going to ask, but you got to be a diplomat. So you like my diplomacy? It kind of worked. I had the privilege of visiting Zedekiah's Cave in 2017. I'm now preparing to lead a small team of researchers to the Holy Land, make it sound all official, in late April, early May of this year. We are very interested in visiting Zedekiah's Cave and, if possible, explore a bit further than is usually allowed. I don't want to come on too strong. We are willing to pay a fee for permission to do this. Who might we speak to about the details of this? In particular, we hope to locate and document an ancient cherubim engraving that reportedly exists somewhere in the non-public part of the cave system. Okay, thank you in advance. Okay, so I heard back from Lee Moore within a day. I heard back from her, and she said, "Dear Ryan, following your request, please contact us at the end of April." So I sent that back in February. Zedekiah's Cave is closed for renovation right now. Best regards, Lee Moore. So that actually was true. So Zedekiah's Cave, it's closed right now. Like, it's not open to the public. They're renovating the whole thing. They're putting in new walkways, new lighting, making it safer, and I think opening up 1 or 2 new areas. But I'm kind of persistent. Like, I'm a super nice guy and very, very likable, and I'm the most annoying, like, fly flying around your head if I'm trying to get something. Sorry for putting it that way, but we went back and forth 24 times, me and this poor lady, Lee Moore, right? And she finally referred me to this guy, and this is a very well-known archaeologist in Jerusalem, Yechiel Zellinger. And as you can see, we got into the cave, right? This is Zedekiah's Cave, and very cool guy. We started writing back and forth, and he actually had the same problem that I did. Yes, I this is my expertise. I lead a lot of, like groups or whatever, right? And he's headed up a whole bunch of digs in Zedekiah's Cave and the Garden Tomb, that whole area. But same thing with him. The city says the cave is closed. The city was telling him, you can't take these guys in there. It's too dangerous. It's off limits, right? So kept pushing, and he finally got permission. He went to like the top guy. So this was very, very cool. So this was the same day that we were on the Temple Mount, and that was in the morning, and then this was in the afternoon. So Yechiel met us in front of Zedekiah's Cave. We did get in, nobody there except for the workers, and you'll hear it in the video I'm about to play. Go ahead, Greg.
You just answered it. I said you guys were by yourself then. Mm-hmm. It was closed.
There were just a couple workers up toward the mouth of the cave working, and other than that, the cave was, completely empty, just us. But they turned all the lights on for us and wanted to make sure it was safe. So I'll just tell you right now, this is one of my punchlines, but I'll just tell you right now, that picture of me in 2017 with a big goofy smile and the tunnel that said "Do not enter," they still did not let us go down that. It's still bugging me a little bit, okay? But we talked about it with Yechiel. But he said...
You did discuss, bring out some survey maps and discuss where exactly they ended.
Yeah, exactly. So what... Don't give away the punchline. Gosh, I already told you this, right? So no, but he did. He filled us in on like the whole story of Zedekiah's cave. Now you guys heard all the stuff I read before, just some crazy stuff out there online. I'll tell you guys something because I want you to feel sorry for me. So everybody's gonna shed a little tear for me. So I've been doing hardcore. I've been researching this topic since I was 10 years old. So that's 45 years. I know I don't look that old, but I'm 55. And since 1999, actually teaching and writing, et cetera, right? And hardcore research on this topic. And of course, I spend a lot of time on the internet, but it is an extremely challenging topic. I don't know if it's the most challenging topic. Maybe politics is. I don't know. But there is so much goofy rumors and legends and stories out there, and trying to get to the truth of stuff, which is why I have to go over there and do boots on the ground and meet with the top people, the top experts in the field, to just try to get the truth. And what for? So that I can tell you guys the truth of this amazing story, right? So either you feel sorry for me or I'm your hero or whatever, just something good. Go ahead, Ben.
As you told me in Israel, the old city, some of the most real stuff in the world and some of the most fake stuff in the world.
It's true. It really is true. Yeah. Really all of Israel, but mainly, the old city and Jerusalem in general. So Yechiel Zellinger. So here's what's cool about him. You remember Ron Wyatt, the guy that discovered the Ark of the Covenant down here? So this is the website is of the Israel Antiquities Authority, which is the guys, okay? So these guys are in charge. They oversee every single archaeological dig in Israel. And right now, what did we find the other day, Ben? There's 37,000 digs happening right now in Israel. And Israel, by the way, is smaller than Mojave County. So that's everywhere you step in Israel, you're stepping on an archaeological site, right? And it's, human civilization. Huh?
That was only active digs.
That's active digs, yeah. Not to mention, who knows what's not active at the moment. But so these are the top guys, and they had this article back in 2006 about our guy. This is about Yechiel, the guy that we hired. In fact, it's written by Yechiel. I just noticed that. Okay, I didn't notice that before. So he writes this for the Antiquities Authority. During August 2005, a trial excavation was conducted within the Garden Tomb compound, and you can see it here. This looks similar to the map I showed you a minute ago, right? Here's a garden tomb up here. Here's the street. Here's Zedekiah's cave down here. North of the Damascus Gate, because there's a Damascus Gate there. The excavation on behalf of the Antiquities Authority, so this is as legit as it gets, and funded by two foundations from the United States, the Wyatt Archaeological Research of Tennessee, and that's Ron Wyatt's organization. Now, by this time, Ron Wyatt again had passed. He passed in 1999. So what this particular dig was, and he's done quite a few. He did several for Ron Wyatt's organization. This was Ron Wyatt's wife and partner wanting to prove that Ron discovered the Ark of the Covenant underneath the Garden Tomb. So they hired Yechiel, the guy, to do this. And Yechiel told us, he said, look, anybody shows up here, we don't care who they are, we don't care what they're looking for, what their motives are. If they're willing to pay us to dig, we dig. So that's what they did. And the Biblical Archaeology Foundation of Texas was directed by Yechiel Zellinger with the assistance of somebody, Persky. All these guys, all these people, probably men and women, but as well as volunteers from around the world. So they actually attracted people to come and help dig. And if I remember right, Yechiel said that they did 2 whole seasons, and a season is 4 months long. So they did 8 months of digging, looking for what Ron claims to have discovered, right? The excavation was conducted south of a natural bedrock outcrop that was identified by General Charles Gordon in 1883 as Golgotha. I mentioned that before. the actual site of Jesus's crucifixion, entombment, resurrection is actually directly south of here in the Old City. It's called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, whole other story. I'm going to try to limit how jerky I am tonight, so I'm not going to talk about that. Sorry. During the 1980s, Wyatt excavated several underground chambers at the site, meaning the garden tomb. The current excavation cleaned and documented the former chambers. Additional chambers were excavated. So again, this guy that we hired actually worked with Ron Wyatt's group on the digs. Okay, so this is the guy. Like, if we're going to get to the truth of Zedekiah's cave, this is the perfect guy to hire. So we hired him. Okay, so with that, let me play our first little video. Are you guys all good? Mm-hmm. You having fun yet? I'm having so much fun with this, which I don't know why. I'm just like a glutton for punishment. I should be embarrassed, but I'm not. I'm very proud of our work here. So here we go. And I'm going to have to fiddle with the volume. Hey, fair warning again. When we were there were workmen working, and they weren't like the old-fashioned, like a shovel and pickaxe. You're going to hear like a lot of machinery going on in the background. Hopefully you can kind of make out what he's saying. We'll do our best here. So where's that? Here we go. So that's the cherub.
That's the way it is usually in Babylon, in Assyrian, and that's what he had found, okay?
So again, he was supposed to be filming that season about 1875. A French explorer discovered this garden, and it's the cherub.
Once you get together, this is usually hypothetical. That's why I'm assuming that it is hypothetical. I can say that the first hole could be in use during that time, okay? I'm very careful, you see, to build my terms, okay? I'm not saying for sure, but it's possible, okay?
So you understand that, like, we think of cherubim, the first thing we think of is the Ark of the Covenant.
Yes, it's a kind of cherub. I mean, you're right. The Ark of the Covenant, if you're reading the Bible, so it's also mentioning the wings. Also, according to the religious, the Jewish tradition, the Mishnah, it's said that they have the face of a baby. Okay, so it all speaks with the same language. Yeah, you say, okay.
Why do you think that this would be carved? And I know it's just totally hypothetical, but why do you think this would be carved in this particular cave?
I can assume that somebody who worked here in the quarry, after he sat down for a meal or something, he just play with it.
Just somebody do
Right. I don't see any particular thing. It's not a place for a temple. It's for a shrine. It's a working
I know
place.
this totally sensations, but like I said, I'm here to get the truth, right? But so what gets people excited is this hints, like this reminds you of the Ark of the Covenant, and there's a story that there's a hidden system here that actually connects to the temple.
I can say after we documented everything, they didn't find it. Okay. This
You can find what?
message all the way to the temple.
That's what I was going to ask.
We did it.
Very important.
Okay.
So we did it. You what? I mean, obviously.
That's right. Okay, we did our best. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
So somebody digging in the cave went ahead and did a carving.
Yeah. Did you guys all hear what Yechiel said? I know it's kind of hard to hear. I apologize for that. But hold on. Come on. Mouse back here. Come on. Moment of silence. One. There we go. Yay. Love technology. Okay. So the carving of the cherub. So this is very cool. He had this book within Yechiel did a photograph of the actual carving. And I don't know if you guys heard what he said. Apologies for bothering you. Hey Ben, since the trip, I should have bought this before the trip, but hello. I have a external microphone now on my phone that like points out from the phone. Yeah, I think we'll do better next time with the audio. But anyways, so this book here has a photograph of the actual carving that was taken out of the cave. So this is so crazy. But yeah, back in 1874, when the French archaeologists found this, that's what they did. They cut it out of the cave, right? And yeah, they weren't practicing good archaeology back then, I guess, but they didn't believe in, I think the term is in situ, like leave things, re-find them, and that's where it belongs, right? So this is actually in a museum of London now, some museum in London.
Is it with the Brits right now?
It's somewhere in London. I'm going to find out the museum because we're trying to plan a trip there next year, Pam and I want to see the actual carving in real life. But Israel has been trying to get London to return this carving, and they haven't done it yet. But in the meantime, they did produce this for them, so we got to hold this and touch it and all that. This is like a plastic. I don't know what the material is. Some kind of composite material. Exact replica of the carving, so we got to at least like see what it looked like in the cave. This is an artist rendition of what the cherub looks like, so kind of weird looking, huh? And really, when I look at this, it doesn't remind me as much as the Ark of the Covenant as just the word cherub does, but it has like the cone-shaped hat, which is really kind of more Assyrian or Babylonian style, so who knows. But Yechiel, his theory as a professional archaeologist, so he's been down there for over 2 decades doing archaeology in this area. And his theory is it was just some worker, Greg, that's down there and gets bored and does this neat little carving of a cherub on the wall. Because I don't know if you guys caught what he said, but he said all the years that they've been down there surveying this cave, there's no hint of any secret tunnel going off toward the Temple Mount, which breaks my heart, but I just intellectual honesty, right? That's my whole thing. So it's a cave. It's a mine. Let me go to the next slide here. Hold on. Come on. Bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to show one more short video clip. This one's actually pretty short. And if I can get my technology to work right here. It is. It's a type of limestone, and it's very distinct. So when you go to Jerusalem, you see it literally everywhere because the city ordinance for the city of Jerusalem is that all construction has to include this limestone. So when you go there, there's a lot of people live in Jerusalem now, and these huge like high rises and apartment buildings and all that, and every building has this stone. And you remember my theory, Mark, is that most of it is just like replica, like it's just cement that's made to look like the Melika, the royal stone. It's not. Every building has to have as its facade this actual limestone. So what that means is on all the modern buildings, it's about that thick. So they're not doing like big blocks because it's very expensive, right? And again, it's called Melika. The word Melik in Hebrew and Arabic, for that matter, means king. So that's the royal stone, like Josephus writes about it, right? But the other point though is that if you go to Jerusalem and see, you guys were there. Thousands and thousands of these huge buildings covered in this Jerusalem stone. No way did it all come from Zedekiah's cave. Of course not. This isn't even an active mine anymore. So that limestone is all through that whole area. And so even like King Solomon's temple, we don't even know for sure that any of the stones came from Zedekiah's cave. King Herod's temple, we don't know for sure. It kind of seems likely because Josephus said the royal caverns that's underneath the old city, so maybe so. But anyway, so let's a little bit of the lead out of my balloon with Zedekiah's cave. But let me show you this last video, Zedekiah's cave. Oop, that's the same one. Hold on. I will get this. There we go.
Water in Zedekiah's cave.
Okay. Huge excavation running.
Intellectual
Years,
honesty.
okay? And later on,
So
it's open
boring,
to the
right?
public.
Okay.
What you see over here is a spring. Since they went all the way downward, okay, they hit the water level at front, and the people who worked over here. And this is a spring, it's still running today. Okay?
It's a natural spring.
It's natural. Yes. It's like the Gihon, but the Gihon is on the other side of the Temple Mount, south of the Temple Mount. You're right. It's in the old city. This is much higher than the Gihon. Okay, but it's on the same. I mean, what happened is that the water is flooding from above downward until it's hit something that is sealed. Okay, it's a kind of lime that's sealed, and on it, wherever it has opening, the spring started. And over here, while they're excavating, while they're quarrying, they open up the cavity and the water starts.
Is this drinkable? Have you guys tested it something?
No, we did few tests of it, and sometimes it was fluid, so I won't take the risk because it's it's everything is above us. More than life.
Not like it's just a mountain up there.
Here's a good question. Where's that water going?
It's going to the next, it runs over here, and it's going to the next lower No, it goes back to the ground until it's hit another sealed layer, and it goes probably, I would say, to the Gihon Spring, okay, over there, because it's much lower, the Gihon Spring than here, okay? Water runs all the time to the lower place, okay? So there is an opening space over there, I mean the spring, so it goes over there.
I think this would be an excellent picture right now. Can we do all five?
But it hasn't connected. You asked me about connecting it to the Temple Mount. It's not. I don't see any entrance.
This is as far as it goes, And even down that way, there's not like a tunnel.
You want to have Wi-Fi over here?
So we'll have to wait till we get out and I'll show these guys.
No, but that's the dead end. Okay, if you ask me if there's any continuation, I don't see it.
Okay.
Did you guys hear that? So he said if there is a tunnel that goes to the Temple Mount, I don't see it. And again, this guy has spent more than 20 years in Zedekiah's cave, completely, surveying it. And according to him, there is no tunnel that leads to the Temple Mount. Bummer, right? I was very disappointed because again, I've got a whole chapter in come on, Ryan. In my book, outlined and ready to comment on Zedekiah's cave, completely outlined, et cetera, et cetera. Hold on one sec. Okay, here's an actual map of the cave, and this is from Yechiel. He sent this to me a month or so before we got together, and I think you could actually find this online. I'm sure you can. But this is the door, I believe, into Zedekiah's cave. So this is the wall right here. And one thing that you'll notice, and he confirmed this, is that there's no tunnel that leads from Zedekiah's cave up to the garden tomb, not at all. Okay, so that was the story. And then this is the edge of the cavern right here. And he took us to this point, so that last little video clip that I showed, that this is actually where you were standing, is right here. And if you look at this is an aerial view of the old city. So here's the Temple Mount, here's the Dome of the Rock, and where did I say the Ark of the Covenant is hidden? It's directly underneath the Dome of the Rock, okay? And, that's almost a certainty, okay? And so here's the northwestern corner of the Temple Mount, and this is Zedekiah's cave. So it ends there. It's again about 30 feet below the Muslim quarter. Doesn't get anywhere near the Temple Mount, unfortunately, and Yechiel was very clear on this, very insistent. So bummer, right? What I like about this is this is again provided by Yechiel, but this shows all the underground spaces in the old city. So Zedekiah's cave. There's a few archaeological digs over here. This is the Western Wall tunnel system, which we also toured. And this is a huge open area that's actually pretty new. This is only a few years old. And we also, a lot of this is close to the public, but we were able to score this the following week with another archaeologist. So we did tour this, got some interesting stuff there that we'll show you later. This is a mosque here called the Mughrabi Mosque that the Muslims illegally dug inside the Temple Mount years and years ago, okay? That was fortuitous, though, because they dumped all the dirt and everything. Go ahead, Mark.
What does the Temple Institute say regarding where it is and how to get to it and all that?
What, the Ark of the Covenant? Oh, well, I just hear, hey, did you get your drink? Okay. So ask the question again. I'm sorry. You talking about the Ark of the Covenant?
Yeah, about the Ark of the Covenant. They believe it's underneath the Temple Mount.
Yeah, so I actually...
Are they talking about getting to it? How do they plan on getting to it?
So I actually had the honor and privilege of meeting with and interviewing a guy named Rabbi Chaim Richman back in 2012. That was my first trip to Israel. And at that time, he was the international director of the Temple Institute. And he at first said he wasn't going to meet with me. And what I say before, I'm very persistent. So I finally got a meeting with him. He was going to meet with me for like 20 minutes. We met for over an hour and 20 minutes probably. But he wasn't going to let me film. I talked him into that. He did tell me that if he ever sees it on Facebook or YouTube, he's going to hunt me down and kill me, or something. I don't know what he said. But yeah, hopefully that was hyperbole. But he did. I did promise him I'll never, make it public. He did say I could show it to the class, and I have shown it to the class once or twice. This video. If you guys are interested, let me know and I'll show it to you. But anyway, so the Temple Institute, if you don't know, this is an organization that has been around since around 1990. I want to say 1988, and they get donations from all over the world, and they have been actively preparing for the rebuilding of the Jewish temple on the Temple Mount. And they're extremely controversial, as you can imagine, because most Jews, most rabbis, everything, say that only Moshiach, the Messiah, can build the temple, which is so interesting when it comes to the end-time story and what we know about the Antichrist and how he's going to rise to power, all that stuff he does, right? But what Rabbi Richman said, and this is what their organization believes, he had the saying, build it and he will come. Build the temple, and that will prompt Mashiach to come. So he said that he's not a spokesman for Mashiach or the Shekinah, the Holy Spirit, but that all he knows is that the Bible commands Jews to build the temple, and that in essence is correct. Okay, so as far as the Ark of the Covenant. It was funny when I asked him, and again, this was way back in 2012, so I was like really brand new to all this stuff, and I'm sure it came across like as a Gomer Pyle, You guys get the reference? You guys remember that show, Wogali and all that? And I asked him, I said, I know this is sensationalist, like I said with Yechiel, but I said the Ark of the Covenant, right? And he said, you Christians, you make it seem like we've been keeping it a secret. He said, we've never kept it a secret where it is. He said, every Jewish young man who goes to yeshiva knows where the Ark of the Covenant is. It's not a secret, never has been. So what First Chronicles said is that King Josiah, realizing that the Babylonians were going to be invading Jerusalem at any time, that he told the temple priests in the middle of the night to take up the ark and hide it in its secret location. Okay, Maimonides, which is the foremost Jewish sage of all time, right? He was writing in the 12th century, the time of the Crusaders, when the Crusaders controlled Jerusalem, right? And he has this huge set of books. I think it's like there's 20 books, 20 different volumes in the set, called the Mishneh Torah, and one is all about the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple. And he writes in the Mishnah. Now what Mishneh Torah means is it's the oral Torah. Okay, so so by the time Maimonides put all this on paper, the Jews had been passing down their knowledge about all this stuff, right? The Holy Temple, everything, for centuries. And Maimonides had the idea, hey, we have to preserve this because who knows what's going to happen in the future. So he put it all down on paper. So all the Jews knew this when he wrote this, right? But he said that King Solomon, in his wisdom, knew that the Ark of the Covenant would be threatened. Okay, so Solomon's father, who was King David, had experienced this firsthand, right? The Philistines stole the Ark one time. They took it down to what's modern-day Gaza, right? And then the plague of rats and boils, and they finally, returned it. But they knew that the Ark was a very, very prized object. Their enemy saw what it accomplished for the Jews in battle. It's the major supernatural power attached to this thing, right? So what Maimonides writes, and I've got the book, it's on my bookshelf at home, is King Solomon, in his wisdom, devised this secret maze of tunnels and trapdoors and pulleys and as a way to get the Ark out of its actual location where it's supposed to be, inside the Holy of Holies of the temple. And if the Ark was ever threatened, that the priests could take it to this secret hiding place. Well, the secret hiding place is directly beneath the foundation stone. The foundation stone is this huge stone that sits directly beneath the Ark of the Covenant. So you see in the picture here, that's the Dome of the Rock. I'm sorry, beneath the dome. The gold dome, that famous gold dome on the Jerusalem skyline. The Dome of the rock it's referring to is Al Sakra, the foundation stone. Leon Rittmeyer, Kurt and I debate about this all the time, working in the late 1970s, his team identified a perfectly rectangular depression in the foundation stone in the Dome of the Rock that's exactly 1.5 by 2.5 cubits, okay? And it's situated directly adjacent to what would have been the eastern door of the temple. There's a lot more to it than that. Long story short, that's the niche where the Ark of the Covenant sat. So the idea is that the Ark of the Covenant, that is the whole point of the temple. Okay, that's the ultimate purpose. That's the primary purpose of the Holy Temple, is to be a house for the Ark of the Covenant. And the Ark of the Covenant, of course, is a house for what? What does that contain?
Tablets.
What's that?
The tablets.
Exactly, the 10 Commandments. Okay, a couple other things too. Aaron's budding rod, there's a jar of manna, and sometimes they were in the Ark, sometimes out. The 10 Commandments, at the very least, are inside the Ark of the Covenant. We've all seen the movie, right? Indiana Jones, the original one, not the new one. And so it's the Ark of the Covenant, and specifically the law, God's law, written by his own finger on that stone, right? That the Shekinah, and you may have heard the word Shekinah, or we say Shekinah glory in evangelical Christianity, that's the Shekinah, that's the Holy Spirit. It's also called the Ruach HaKodesh in Hebrew, right? But that's what he attaches himself to when God's presence is supposed to be in the Holy Temple. Okay, and that's a whole other story. It kind of goes in and out based on the Jews' relationship. It's not there now. The Ark is there. The Shekinah is not. Okay, he went up to heaven, and it's, you guys know, the day of Pentecost. Then he came back down. Now he dwells inside of us. Okay, but so Maimonides very, very clear on it, and this is why. So when did I say that happened? That was way back around 586 BC, just before King Solomon's temple was destroyed. And didn't I say earlier, if you guys are paying attention, that it's been missing from history now for 2,600 years? Okay, so when was Jesus on earth? How long ago?
2,000 years.
Just 2,000 years ago. So, and he was at the temple, right? That was what we know as the second temple, or King Herod's temple. And he even referred to it. He said, "This is my Father's house, a house of prayer." He fully acknowledged that the presence of God was in that second temple. How could it be there if the Ark of the Covenant wasn't there? Because it was there, and it is there. It was, at that time, the Shekinah was attached to it, the Ark, but the Holy of Holies, completely empty in the time of Christ. If you went in there, it's just an empty room. But several feet, several meters, however far, directly beneath the foundation stone, there's a secret cave, and that's where the Ark of the Covenant is. So, did I even come close to answering your question, whatever your question was?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm good.
But again, so the Jews.
Actually, the Temple Institute has a lot to do with the rebuilding of the temple, obviously, and
That's what they're preparing for. They've got all the vessels of the temple recreated. They've got the priestly garments. The priests are daily being trained, and the priestly choir and the sacrifices, everything. Yeah, and then we were there. We were at the Temple Institute. We took their little tour and all that, right? So just every day they're working on this, preparing to build the temple. The challenge, of course, is that there's this other structure in the way right now, which is the Dome of the Rock. And this is the essence of the end time story. I mean, we're this close to seeing the third temple built, but you can imagine that there's a whole bunch of people that believe that even the thought of that, can provoke World War III to start. So it's a really big deal, but that's why I spend so much time researching, the third temple, meeting with these people, right? But, the Warren's Gate, I was talking about Sir Charles Warren earlier, the Freemason, and now to this day, every year they do this ritual in Zedekiah's cave. Well, the gate that's named after Sir Charles Warren, Warren's Gate, in the Western Wall Tunnel system, today you see that gate and it's weird. You're down there. There's these beautiful, Jerusalem stone, gigantic blocks of the Melika, all the way along, and then all of a sudden you get to this gate and it's this ugly, like concrete, and it's all like splattered cement, right? And what the story is with that is that back in June of 1981, which coincidentally was the same month that Raiders of the Lost Ark was in the theaters, strangely enough. But there were 3 rabbis who got the idea to start digging through Warren's Gate, and they literally were going out to the Ark of the Covenant, and they spent about 3 days digging, and then the Palestinians up on top heard them. They broke down through. There was a big brawl. Nobody got killed, but the Israeli police sealed off Warren's Gate, and it's been sealed ever since. But that's the closest spot now, or pretty close to it, in the Western Wall tunnels to the Holy of Holies. So that's why they were going after that. And I interviewed one of those guys back in 2014. He passed away since then, but anyways. All right, so moving on. So why was I showing this picture of us at the Austrian hostel? What does this have to do with Zedekiah's cave? Remember the strudel? Wasn't that good? Mm-hmm. Am I saying it right? And the coffee, very good. It's kind of funny, but and here it is on the map right here. There's the Damascus Gate. Here's Zedekiah's cave. This exact spot is directly above the farthest point on Zedekiah's cave. So we had coffee and strudel there, and then a couple hours later, we were 30 feet underground under this spot, and that's the farthest point in the cave. So Zedekiah's cave is like figuratively and literally a dead end. Remember, Elijah, like all the fun we had talking about this and how I'm going to get inside and look at me now. So man, and why am I even presenting this? Because it's fun. Because we had a good time researching this, and because I just, again, want to emphasize, in this topic area, there's an infinite amount of legends and stories and rumors and stuff that people just completely make up, and I'll spend the rest of my life like working really hard to try to get to the truth of stuff, right? So just to be 100% sure, make sure that we didn't misunderstand anything that Yehiel said, and he was joking about it, right? He said, "Oh yeah, we were down there, and somebody'd written on the rock, Jericho this way," and it's a joke. They're making like a big joke out of the whole concept, right? But after we got back, so this was later in May, I wrote to him again. I said, "Shalom, Yehiel. We have been back home in the U.S. for a couple of weeks now. I just wanted to thank you again for meeting with us and for the very insightful and informative tour of Zedekiah's cave. I'll probably hire him again for some other stuff. I have a couple of things in mind. I know that the guys really enjoyed it. Next time I'm in Jerusalem, maybe you and I can connect again. What other stuff might you be able to show me? Regarding Zedekiah's cave, I'm preparing to teach my class this Thursday." There's a reason why. Here it is, 2 months later before I'm actually getting to this. I won't mention it. Anyways, yeah, my schedule got thrown off a bit. Half of you know, right? Just to confirm, before I make this statement to the class, as of now, there is zero evidence that Zedekiah's cave is not a completely closed system, right? In other words, it's closed. In other words, according to current knowledge, there is no hint that Zedekiah's cave might connect to some secret cave system that goes off toward the Dead Sea, or the Temple Mount, or the City of David, or the so-called Garden Tomb. Correct. Thank you in advance for your clarification. And what do you write back? Real succinct. You're absolutely right. See you next time you're coming. So just to be sure, right? So we asked him about, Ron Wyatt, what did his team actually find? Did they find the Ark of the Covenant? And of course, he said, we found dirt, we found rocks, we found a few coins, a couple of pottery shards, and that's it. So, to me, honestly, the truth of the end time story, the real truth of it, is so much more fascinating to me than all the legends and folklore and rumors and stories, right? And this trip, by the way, so this was a bust, Zedekiah's Cave, as it turns out, but we did find a couple of other things on the trip, learn a couple of other things that had just got me on this whole new direction in my research that's just like off the charts. Stuff about the origin and identity of the Antichrist, as much as people don't want to hear about him. But it's crazy, the stuff I'm discovering now. So more on that later. So concluding the Zedekiah's Cave portion of our study, this is an actual photograph of me throwing my notes on Zedekiah's Cave. Not a real photograph, but that hurt, man. Greg, I go in there. It's I think as a writer, it's called murdering your little ones or something. It's just like, I got this awful term because you do all this great writing. But yeah, I went through and literally just deleted everything about Zedekiah's Cave from part 3 of my book series. So you guys have heard all about it here. You won't see it in my book, but you guys are special because you still got to hear the story. So cool? So this is that's my intellectual honesty. We're already getting late in the class, so I'm not going to go too much into our next topic, but I'll introduce it for next time we get together in 2 weeks. Real quick, though, I did want to just share this. This is typical, standard operating procedure Jerusalem. So after Zedekiah's Cave, do you guys remember this? You remember this? We leave Zedekiah's Cave, we go visit the Garden Tomb, beautiful spot. It's a fake site, but it's beautiful. Sorry, everybody. And we're walking up Jaffa Street into like the modern part of West Jerusalem and where all the shops and restaurants are. And all of a sudden we hear all these sirens and then all these emergency vehicles are going by us. And we're, what's going on? Connie, there's a reason why you haven't heard about this until now. I didn't want you to be mad at me. Like, hey, Connie, guess what? I don't know if he told you. But like literally we're walking up the street and there was a terrorist attack while we were there. So it was a Palestinian guy drove his car and rammed several Jewish pedestrians. I don't think anyone got killed, but 3 of them ended up in the hospital. And the article says terrorist neutralized, which is not usually doesn't mean anything good. So and it's terrible. I'm not making light of it. I just mention it. This is real life in Jerusalem and in the nation of Israel. Every day they have to be on guard 24/7. They're in a war. This war is going on. This war is what I always refer to as the Great End Times War, right? I always say, it's happening now, and this is how this all gets stirred up, and it's in the context of this conflict over there, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, that the Antichrist is going to rise to power and be able to do what he does. So keep watching that. And is it okay if I introduce our next topic? I'm not going to show any more videos. I'll take 5 minutes to do this, I promise. Somebody time me. And is that okay? I'm going to introduce our next topic for next class. So we're meeting again in 2 weeks. And this is not a fake site or a fake guy. This is very, very cool. All the way back in, so this gentleman's name is Rabbi Yehuda Glick. And if any of you follow Israeli news, you've heard of this guy. He's, yes.
Are we supposed to be able to say something?
Yes. Thank you.
It's stereo.
Yeah, you're supposed to look in the reflection of my glasses. You'll see him. So hold on. Thanks, guys. Here we are. How's that? Okay. So this is. So I told you I interviewed Rabbi Chaim Richman. This is another guy who was on my radar way back then. And I don't think in 2012 I tried for an interview with him, but in 2014 I really did. And you guys heard what I said before about I'm very, very persistent, and his handlers wouldn't let me anywhere near him back then. And it's funny because we actually were able to meet with him on this trip, and I told him that. I said, yeah, 10 years ago I was trying to get an interview with you. Your guys wouldn't let me. And he was mad. He was like, you should have talked to this guy or whatever. He was surprised I couldn't get to him. But anyways, we finally got to interview him. So Rabbi Yehuda Glick, again, all over the news. He's very, very active. He's probably the most famous, well, not probably, he is the most famous, notorious Temple Mount activist in Jerusalem, and he's been at this for decades, right? So in 20, how's my pointer going to work? Here we go. So from 2005 to 2009, so for about 5 years, he was the director of the Temple Institute. Okay, so by the time I got there, Rabbi Richmond had taken his place and had only been running the institute for a few years, by the time I met with him. But so for 5 years, he was the director of the Temple Institute, getting ready to rebuild the temple, right? In 2014, there was actually an assassination attempt. So a couple of Palestinians, he was coming out of a meeting in downtown Jerusalem, West Jerusalem, and a couple of guys, Palestinian guys, rode up on a motorcycle, and the guy in the back of the motorcycle actually looked at him and said, "Are you Rabbi Glick?" And he said, "Yes." And this Palestinian guy said, "I'm really sorry to do this, but you're an enemy of Al-Aqsa Mosque." You guys know the mosque up on the Temple Mount. It's just adjacent to the Dome of the Rock. That's a whole other story. But and then he shot him. He shot him 4 times, and it was at such close range that it passed right through his body. None of the bullets, stayed. So I think that helped. But Rabbi Glick went in the hospital. He was in the hospital for a whole month, might have been slightly longer. And then it took him a while after that to really fully recover, right? But this is like how serious this guy, is, right? He then, a couple years after that, he served as, where am I? He served as a minister of the Knesset from 2016 to 2019. And do you guys know what the Knesset is? Do you guys remember?
The Senate, right?
What's that?
Basically, their Senate, right?
It is. It's Israel's version of our U.S. Congress. So he served as a congressman, in essence, right, for 3 years, 4 years, right? And then just 2 years ago, he actually ran as a candidate for president. So you can see, he's buddies with Netanyahu. They know each other well. But the kind of funny thing about this relationship is a little bit tenuous. Netanyahu himself, I think twice, at least once, has formally, officially banned Yehuda Glick from the Temple Mount because Glick goes up there and it's provocative and the Muslims throw a fit and, again, assassination attempt, right? So anyways, long story short, Rabbi Glick, incredibly nice guy, finally got an interview with him. It's an amazing interview. The video was corrupt, but Ben, night before last, drove the master copy over to my house. Thank you again, Ben. So I've got the interview. I edited it down to about maybe 20 minutes long, the most interesting stuff. But so in 2 weeks, please come back, and we're going to hear the interview with Rabbi Glick, very influential guy, and what he's doing right now to promote the rebuilding. There's some amazing stuff here. The rebuilding of the Jewish temple on the Temple Mount. So it's not happening yet. But again, all these little, breadcrumbs that we're following, are we getting close to the temple being rebuilt? Zero question. We're headed that direction. So, and his new tack right now seems to be stirring up interest worldwide now, like what he's doing to get attention on this topic. So cool. So, and that's a short interview. I mean, I'll show maybe 15, 20 minutes worth of it. And I don't know what that was. Somebody's pinging me. Oh, it's my brother. Never mind, my sister. Yeah, no, me and technology, right? I'm a software engineer. Did I mention that? And this stuff still bewilders me. But so again, yeah, kind of a short interview, and then after that, we should have time to go into our next topic after that, which is a better than VIP tour of the city of David, which is a major archaeological site south of the Temple Mount, and we were shown stuff that even like top politicians that go to Jerusalem, they don't show it to these guys, right? And so, anyways, that's what's coming up. So, are you guys enjoying this? Because again, I just want to really share our research with you. Zedekiah's cave, dead end, figuratively, literally, but still cool, right? And next week we'll start with this guy. So, any questions or anything? We have about 10 minutes left. I can close early, or yeah, go ahead, Elijah.
I don't know if it's what you meant by questions, but I thought I saw something about Benjamin Netanyahu needing medical attention recently. Mm-hmm. What's going on?
He went in the hospital, and it was a little heart issue, if I remember correctly, but he's out now and doing fine. So, yeah, a little bit of a heart.
Pacemaker.
Yeah, right. So, small thing nowadays, right? But he's out just in time for all the crazy riots over there, and they're on the brink of civil war, and they're not really But I don't know if you guys follow that, but there's a huge problem over there now. Netanyahu's government is doing a little bit of judicial reform, and a lot of people in Israel are saying this is anti-democratic. So there's been major riots in the street, probably worse than ever. Hezbollah's having a ball with this, Iran's having a ball, Hamas, all the bad guys, right? The guy that shot Yehuda Glick, that's Islamic Jihad, by the way, that's a proxy of Iran in Israel. And they're all loving it because they see Israeli society just falling apart right now, a lot of riots and all that stuff. But what I say, standard operating procedure, right before we went there, it was Ramadan, and there were rockets being fired from Gaza into Israel while we were there.
Yeah.
Did you know about that, Connie?
No.
Okay, well, I got a whole list, but just keep coming to class. You'll hear about everything. So, but yeah, it almost sounds like kind of silly to even say, but yeah, just seriously keep the Jews in your prayers, keep Israel in your prayers. Very important that Christians and Jews come together like this in these times. That's prophesied in the Bible. Very few Christians are doing that now. Very few Jews are doing that. But that's another fundamental part of this ministry is building bridges, real relationships with the Jewish people. Just love it. Me and Ben were just talking about that. So any general questions, like about the timeline, the end times? Got a couple minutes here. I could close. So, yeah, go ahead, Greg.
You said he was fatally shot 4 times and survived?
He was shot 4 times and survived. Spent about a month in the hospital. So.
Let's see where his career leads.
Huh?
Let's see where his career leads.
Yeah, so come next class and we'll hear him firsthand, like what he's working on now. That's my brother this time. Okay. I'm popular with my siblings. Wow. All right. Father-in-law, why don't you come up here and close us in prayer, and then we'll call tonight. So appreciate you guys all coming, and everybody watching online. Appreciate it.
Lord, you know us better than we know ourselves. We speculate, we project that this is going to happen, that's going to happen, but only you, Yahweh, Yeshua, you're the only one that knows the truth. Your Spirit together teach us the truth, only the truth. In Yeshua's name, so be it.
Amen. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody. Love you. Come back in 2 weeks. Thank you. In the meantime, stay filled with the Holy Spirit. Thank you, Elijah. And new people, don't forget, I owe you guys copies of the timeline. So anyone watching the live stream, if you want to fly here.